This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 24, verse 16. For a just man falleth 7 times, and riseth up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders, and great millstone who were well. Peace and mercy to the Tazadak Akim out there that's laboring his truth with all sincerity. I want to say Shalom. All right, and today's topic is going into making adjustments, making spiritual adjustments, making adjustments in your daily lives to benefit you spiritually. All right, whether you have to make adjustments in, eating properly, reading more, studying more, using your time, your leisure time more effectively, because the scriptures speak about how we gain wisdom in our leisure time. So even making adjustments in how we utilize our leisure time, So this lesson is just going into making adjustments and examining ourselves. All right. And the first precept I brought out was Proverbs 24 and 16. Let me read it again. This is Proverbs chapter 24, verse 16. For a just man falleth 7 times and arises up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief. All right, so a just man, meaning a righteous man, you falleth 7 times. 7 representing completion. So a righteous man falleth numerous times in the faith, but always rises up again. All right, man, that's all through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Shemiel Shah. But how does that righteous man rise up? By making adjustments. So let's go on. I got the word adjustment. All right. So the word adjustment means making fit or conformable, the act of adapting to a given purpose, orderly regulation or arrangement. All right. That's what adjustment means, right? Now, what does it mean to adjust? It means to correct, remedy. All right. To collaborate. To regulate. All right, we got to regulate. We have to regulate what? Our flesh. We have to correct the ways, the reasons why we fell. It could be anything. You could fall into temptations throughout anything. You could have a party demon on you, a sex demon on you, a sloth demon on you. All right, so many different demons, so many different temptations leads to a righteous man falling, but through making those corrections, making those adjustments through the spirit, all right, you rise up again. And only the wicked, all right, only the wicked man is going to be led to destruction, to mischief, all right? So we always have to be mindful of making adjustments. And that's why I want to get the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 22, it reads, that ye put off concerning the former conversation the old man, which is corrupt according to the deceitful lust. All right, so we have to put off the former conversation, the old man, day by day, week by week, we have to strip off, that old man, that former conversation, things that we may, once, used to lust about, and the things that we may, quote unquote love, we have to strip those things away. We have to put off that former conversation. Okay. And, a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, when a righteous man falleth, it's because that old man always creeps back up. That old man always creeps back up because, you can remain focused for, let's just say you on the journey for, a month or 2 or 3 or maybe 6 months. Let's just say, you just on a certain path, that old man creep up and, you might, your flesh might, fall. You might, dabble into your flesh, and then your flesh could take over. Now it becomes a cycle of, that old man creeping back in. All right, but we have to put that off. We always have to put that off and be mindful. All right, and stay in the spirit. That's why Galatians, the 5th chapter says, walk in the spirit. All right. So we won't fulfill the lust of the flesh because it's a spiritual warfare. You know, the flesh warf against the spirit and the spirit warf against the flesh. All right. So it says, which is corrupt. All right. According to deceitful lust. So that old man is corrupt, you know, according to the deceitful lust. And those lusts could go into anything. You could have, you know, we all have different types of, you know, lust. You know, it could be, you know, a social media lust. All right. It could be a woman lust. It could be a drinking lust. All right. There's so many different lusts, deceitful lusts that, you know, a man has, because we're not perfect. Okay. But we have to put off that former man, that former conversation, that old man. You know, the things that we may have done in the world, we can't continue, you know, when we're in the faith. You know, that's a part of the adjustments I was talking about. That's a part of the correcting, the regulating, you know, while you're in this faith. Because when you serving Yahweh Shem Yahushua, there's always room for adjustments. There's always room to correct. You know, there's always things that you can correct for you to be a better man in serving Yahweh Shem Yahushua. All right, because, you know, we're not perfect. Right. And that's a part of, you know, being humble, realizing, acknowledging that you're weak and that you need Yahweh Shem Yahushua to guide you. OK, in righteousness. We need the Lord to. And that's why we have to. It's important of prayer, you know, and pray to the Lord for us to make those adjustments, to make the correct adjustments. All right. To make the correct decisions. OK. Because that's what a king does. Because this is all like I did on my lesson prior. You know, we're kings in the making. You know, we're, you know what I mean, Lord willing, we the elect. And so this is a rehearsal, you know, making those adjustments as kings. We always have to adjust. We always have to make decisions. All right. In order to better your kingdom. All right. So it says, and be renewed in the spirit of your mind. So we're supposed to be renewed in the spirit of our mind, being renewed in his faith, being renewed in his word. All right. Applying the wisdom that we know. You know, men may know scriptures, men may know breakdowns, but are we applying these scriptures? Are we applying the wisdom and the understanding that Yahweh Shem Yahushua gave us? All right. Are we applying these things to our lives? You know, even when we fall, you know, are we applying these things? All right, when you rise back up, you have to apply the scriptures, because we make these adjustments through what? What's the ultimate guide? It's these scriptures, man. And Yahweh Shem Yahushua, you know, these scriptures allow us to make those correct adjustments. That's why we have to stay within these scriptures, man. All right, and be more disciplined in these scriptures, as Apostle Paul quoted, you know. So it says, and that ye put on the new man, which after the Most High is created in righteousness and true holiness. All right. So we have to put on that new man, you know. You have to put on that new man. All right. Being renewed in the right mind, which is being renewed in the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and putting off that old man. All right. Because that old man, it creeps back up. All right. And many men fall out from this truth because they allow that old man to overtake them. All right. You know. So we always have to be mindful of that. Okay. So I want to get 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5. Now, in this particular verse, I want to, bring up some historical context and, bring it back, basically, I want to compare it or bring it to how today, is, if that makes sense. All right. So, because, Paul, when he was, writing the Israelites in Corinth, he was saying these things, he's writing these letters for a particular reason. And these, when you read these scriptures and you go into the history of why he was quoting or saying these letters, sending these letters, and why he was saying certain things, is because a lot of those things that were going on back then are happening now to this day. All right. So I'm going to bring out some historical, context of 2 Corinthians, the 13th chapter, the 5th verse, when Paul was writing the letters to the Israelites in Corinth, explaining to them that they have to examine themselves. Okay? So this is 2 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 5. It says, examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith, prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves, how that Yahweh Shah Mashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates. All right? So I wrote down some notes, of why Paul was saying this to the Israelites in Corinth. And then I got some, I have some historical things. So I'm going to start off what I wrote down. So it says, the historical and spiritual context of 2 Corinthians 13, verse 5, it says, I wrote, Corinth was a wicked and Hellenized city. Corinth was a major Greek city under Roman rule, known for wealth, idol worship, sexual immorality, and philosophical pride. Israelites living there were surrounded by a heavily Gentile culture. Many of them were Hellenized, meaning they adopted Greek customs, names, and lifestyles. Paul was addressing the Israelite believers in Yahweh Shah who were being tempted or drawn back into that corrupt culture. So now let's bring it out. All right. Now, when you go and Google, I wrote, what was Corinth like in biblical times? So in Bible times, Corinth was a prosperous cosmopolitan city, known for its wealth, trade, and reputation for immorality. It was a strategic location at the isthmus connecting the Corinthian Gulf and the Aegean Sea, all right, making it a major center for commerce and transportation. So Corinth was known for its trade, so it was a city that was always busy. It was always, things being imported, exported. All right, similar to like a New York City, similar to like the major cities in America, let's say that. All right. So it says, while the city was home to numerous temples and religious practices, it was also known for its litigious lifestyle and association with the goddess Aphrodite, contributing to its reputation for Sin City. So it was known, Corinth was known, all right, or the city of Corinth was known for being had a reputation of for Sin City. All right. So we know sin is what the transgressions of the law. 1 John 3 and 4. So it was a lot of wickedness that the city of Corinth was known for. So it says here's a more detailed look at Corinth in Bible times. And so it says strategic location, Corinth position on the isthmus made it a vital hub for trade by both land and sea, because I believe when you go into the map of Corinth, it was like the city was next to like, the sea, the water. Okay, it says wealth and power. The city controlled over trade routes, generated considerable wealth and influence, making it one of the most important cities in Greece. And a lot of things happen in these, quote unquote, rich cities. Look what's going on in the news with Diddy and the Jeffrey Epsteins and, all these celebrities. I mean, these people that were renowned for their riches, they indulge in a lot of pagan and sinful ways, having, orgies and doing a lot of demonic rituals, similar to what was going on in Corinth. They was doing that, those demonic rituals, those Greek customs, and following these Greek gods and Greek mythology. Okay, so a lot of Israelites in that particular time who were Hellenized, they were doing the same thing. And those who were woken up to them being an Israelite, and being a believer in Yahweh Shah, all right, a lot of those ways, still crept up. This is why Paul was always writing these letters, examine yourself. Because, that old man always creeps back up. The things that you was, maybe was doing before, now that you in the faith, you might be indulging a little bit in it. Same thing as today. Men who just came from the world, we was doing a lot of things we wasn't supposed to do. And, when you join the faith and wake up to the truth, knowing that you're a Hebrew Israelite, having faith in Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, that old man still creeps back up. So we always have to examine ourselves and make those adjustments. Same thing that was going on back then. There's nothing new under the sun. All right. So it says, large population. Corinth likely had a population of 750,000 or more during the time of Paul, indicating its significant size and importance. So it was a real populous city, similar to like the major cities in America, like New York, California, Texas, Miami, Atlanta, and we could only imagine, the things that were going on back then in the time of Corinth, and we could compare it to now, the clubs, these orgy parties, so many different things that be going on, behind the scenes. So many things that be going on behind the scenes that Jake once indulged in, So it says, real quick, just to, go breeze by it quick, they had pagan temples, temple prostitution, religious diversity. Now it says morality and reputation. Corinth was known for its loose morals. All right. It was known for its sexual immoralities, going into those orgies or men having sex with their father's partners. That was a heavy thing going on back then, men were having sex with their own fathers, wives, and it was a lot of orgies. It was a lot of homosexual, a lot of things that were being participated in the time of Corinth. And the reason why I bring this out, going back to, let me read it again. 2 Corinthians 13:5, it says, examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. All right. Prove your own selves. So we always have to examine ourselves daily, whether we be in the faith, always checking ourselves, always keeping the Lord in our minds, always knowing that this flesh is weak, always examine yourselves, knowing when you're wrong, taking rebuke. You got to learn how to take rebuke. That's a part of examining yourself too. Don't always feel away when the counsel is rebuking you. Sometimes it's always is a good thing, a smart thing to just remain quiet and then sit back and examine yourselves. Think, why is the Lord telling me these things? Because the Lord speaks through men. Okay? And we have to prove our own selves. We have to prove ourselves whether we in this faith. How do we prove ourselves? By doing the work, doing our lessons, reading, studying, praying, fasting. Okay? All right? It says, know ye not your own selves how that Yahweh Shah Mashiach is in you. except ye be reprobate. So we know that this faith is not of ourselves, as a gift, all right, and that the Lord is in us. Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, he dwells in us in a rightful spirit, in a rightful soul, not in a malicious soul. Okay? So let me get Psalms. I think it's 51:10. No, let me see. Humble yourselves. Right? So this is James chapter 4, verse 10. It reads, humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. So we have to humble ourselves. Now, got the word humble. Okay. It's not popping up. All right, but a part of the word humble in etymology, it says to be lowly or to be obedient. All right, now I got the word obedient here. It means willing to serve someone, willing to fulfill an obligation, to obey. All right, so a part of, humbling ourselves is being obedient. So when we examine ourselves, we have to be obedient to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua and always remind ourselves that we're serving the Lord and doing his work. Okay? Always remember that. Always remember that even when you fall, you have to always remember your purpose. All right? That we have an obligation to fulfill. Okay? Because remember, the scriptures speak about, if you put your hands to the plow and you fall off, the Lord will beat you with many stripes. So that's the reason why it's important to always, make those spiritual adjustments. If you have whatever demon you facing, pray and fast to the Lord for the Lord to make the adjustment for you. But you have to be praying, and then as well as apply and put forth action into those adjustments. Okay? And that was the point right there. Lord willing, this is edifying. I want to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. And with that, shalom.